Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Sorry, we had a little technical bug there. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio, located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, one of the first generative AI companies that I co-founded in 2016, and it was acquired by Vizier in Canada. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And today I have an incredible uh, group here. I am the host of Simplenight.AI Presents, and today we have Solito. It's going to be talking about some of the things that Simplenight does. He's going to be talking about Reyes. He's going to be talking about his background and how Simplenight's put in a dent in the universe. So with that, I'd like to bring Solito on board. Hi, Solito. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you doing, Gary? From
Good,
the other
good.
side of the planet as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit early out here too. I'm in California right now, and I know you've flown from New York over to the Philippines again. How long is that flight, Lito?
Oh my God, it's brutal. So you can only do like two segments, or your brain is going to go to mush. But the first segment is 6 hours, and then the final segment is about 16 hours. With the 2 hour layover in between. So it's pretty brutal. Even in business class, it's brutal. A lot
Yeah,
of
you
people
don't look
say,
bad for that kind of a flight, that's for sure.
well, my whole time clock is all screwed up. So I've like, on top of the fact that you lose a whole day, right? Because we're 13 hours ahead. So when you're flying this direction, you lose the 13 hours plus the time travel. So you end up losing a full day. So when I flew out on Monday, I don't land until Wednesday. So it's crazy. You feel like you just teleported into the future, and you look at your calendar, you're like, wait a minute, what the heck just happened? How the heck am I, three days ahead all of a sudden, you know? So,
Well,
besides just the jet
Simple
lag.
Night, you've got so much going on. So tell us a little bit about. Could you start by giving us listeners a brief overview of Simple Night and the kind of core things that you offer your customers?
Yeah, so at Simple Night, we're a B2B to C platform. So you can kind of, if you want to kind of visualize what we do for the people who are not very, big into this stuff, we're kind of like a middleware. So we help take a massive amount of all these various suppliers, and we distribute all of their products and items out, products and services out to all of our B2C partners. So the B2C partners are the ones that take on the burden of displaying it and getting eyeballs, and you know presenting all of our stuff to the end user. But we provide all of the crazy services that you do in a massive e-commerce site, right? We do the payments, we do the browsing and search, and all the cool cutting edge features that you'll see on some of these partners' sites and
Yeah, so tell
applications.
us a little bit about what kind of things do you do? So, we've got Amazon out there, we've got Expedia and Priceline, but what exactly do you do? What differentiates Simple Night from the competition?
So it's kind of funny. I was trying to explain this to someone the other day, and I said we're the kind of like the unsung hero for these massive e-commerce systems, because everyone thinks, oh, these massive front end brands, they have so much inventory, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, no, they actually don't have any inventory. I said they get all their inventory from a company like us, right? We're the ones that built up all these relationships. We're the ones that made all of these technical integrations happen. We're the ones that take all their products. We're the ones that arrange it, make it look good. We're the ones that build the UX and all the flows, so that all the B2C customers have to do is literally just, put all their investment in getting eyeballs. So they're the ones that present it. So yeah, a lot of the heavy lifting that you'll see with all these massive e-commerce sites is usually done on the back end that no one sees. And it's funny. You'll The suppliers like it that way. The suppliers always want to brag to everyone that, oh, we have all this massive global distribution. And then on the B2C side, right, they always want to brag about, oh, we have all of this massive inventory. But there is no way that any one of these big B2Cs can accumulate that much product. They need help from someone like us who specializes in B2B and distribution, you know. to be able to make that happen, to make that connection and that flow of transactions happen.
So, Solito, how do you fit into the broader picture of Simple Nights services or collaborations? How do you fit in?
Oh goodness, I've done. I feel like I've been here for too long. So, I met Mark in 2013, 2014. Yeah, like the end of 2013. And I remember he had this crazy idea. As you know, Mark was a concierge, and he had this brilliant idea of saying, "Hey, I want to make my job easier. I have to manually call all of these restaurants, and I have to call to make all these transportation services, and I have to book all these hotels and shows for those people. It's an absolute nightmare. It took like a mini army, to go out and arrange all these things." He saw a major problem, and we were fortunate to cross paths. I had just sold one of my tech startups at that time, and I was looking for a new project. So Mark said, "Hey, why don't you come in and help me? I heard you've got some developers." I said, "Yeah, I got some guys that are bored. They're looking for another new project." And as soon as within like the first 5 minutes of him pitching me this idea of trying to build this massive B2B platform for the tour industry, I was like, "Whoa, I'm in," because I've never seen anything like that, And yeah, that's when Simple Night was born. So I brought the team in, and we built the first generation of software for Simple Night. We took this MVP. I think we built it in about 2 to 3 months. And, Mark said, "If you build this software, I've got all the investors ready to go." And I think from that single MVP, I think he was able to raise like almost $10 million. So, it was destined. Now, granted, that was an era where, capital was much easier than it is now, right? So if you had a really good idea and you had a really great concept, and you could show a good prototype, yeah, you could definitely raise some really solid money back then. I think it's really harder right now, but at the same time, you got a lot more software tools to get a lot further. So it was a very exciting time. So I'm very proud of where we've come. When we started, I think we started with the hotels and tours, and we thought, "Oh my God, this is going to be astronomical. How do you deal with all this different data discrepancies, and how the heck do we build a database that is both accommodating for volatile as well as static information?" When in the beginning, it just seemed like such a monstrosity,
Mhm.
and we didn't. What the good thing is, because we were one of the first. Well, actually, we were the first to kind of take on this strategy of doing multi-category. It was exciting because we essentially created the rules and the standards, and that was the fun part. I mean, I remember we used to just debate a lot, and that mindset has helped take us to where we are, now. And 7 categories later, and then over the next 2 or 3 years, I mean, it's going to be infinite. The number of
Yeah, but
categories.
you look at it, I mean, there's like, let's talk about, being able to buy something anywhere, anytime, any place. And if you look at it, so that talk us through the personalized experience, and the way you approach it is way different than anybody else. So how does that, that personalized, I mean, think about it. What's the problem we have on this planet? It's infobesity. We got too much data, no matter what it is, right? It's our time. We don't know if we fly to San Francisco, what kind of events are going to be there. We don't know if our friend's going to be there. We don't know what, when you book a ticket, right? You go into Delta Airlines, you book a ticket, it doesn't understand that you like the right front and first class on the right hand side, because if you're not, your neck gets sore on the other side, right? But these kind of the things, kind of like your grandmother loves you and cares about you, this hyper personalization. I know Simple Night's like right on the leading edge of that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, hyper personalization is one of those things that we're really, hype on. Uh, when we were starting, personalization was really hard because a lot of it had to do with trying to get that hard information from the user. And when you're trying to get that information from the user, you have to like explicitly ask it, or you're not going to get it. And it's very hard to kind of build an experience of of what we're doing, and make as you know, you want to get the user to book as much that stuff as possible, get to the cart and hit buy, right? If you have to sit there and almost make that experience feel like an interrogation, you're done. They're never going to get to that point. So then how do you ever get that information? So it's all that was always a very difficult process. So thank God, come down the road, you end up in the artificial intelligence world. That process is now a lot more easier. It's a lot more intuitive because we build that all the inputs that we need from the user in the experience. So, we're going to get it from previous bookings and history. Um, we can slyly get it from their social media profiles, right? We can get all of their preferences, and we might even just explicitly ask them because we have a conversational interface. You can intuitively ask for those refinements like you normally would do in a conversation that you'd have with another human being. It's just that it's automated and it's artificial intelligence. So this hyper personalization, being able to accomplish that is much easier because we have the technology now. So that accuracy of being able to recommend and suggest things to a user and being able to organize it, being able to pick dates in the future, being able to accommodate all the needs of your spouse and your kids. If you want to take a family trip, you need to know when your kids are going to be off. So the ability to be able to pull the calendars as well, it's really amazing. And it's a lot of information that the AI has to calculate, manage, and kind of assess in real time immediately, and being able to put that together in a way that makes the user happy is tremendous, right? And the accuracy of it, the ability to handle all this information all at once, that's kind of how we do it, right? So thank God for artificial intelligence, because there wasn't any real technology and there wasn't any real easy way to kind of get those inputs from user, but now we can do it very intuitively, very smoothly, and it doesn't annoy
I mean,
the
it's
customer.
amazing because you look at it, when you take a trip, there's all these silos out there for everything, right? And what's needed, if you look, Elon Musk said a couple of days ago, it's all about horizontals and not verticals, right? It's to build horizontal technology that becomes engines to be able to power things. And you look at everything that's out there. We got to personalize it and deal with the data. When you're booking a trip, you're right. Hotels, you've got your flights, you've got, it's kind of like if you took Amazon, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Expedia, combined it as one, being able to do that so that you enhance your experience, you make it pleasurable. It's
Absolutely.
and that's walk us down through it. So let's just say with the tool, what kind of a partner would you want to have, and how can you help those partners?
So, one of the most rewarding things is how we help a lot of our suppliers, right? And a lot of our suppliers have been screwed over by some of the B2Cs that they've worked at. So I'll give you a very good example of a group of suppliers that really love us. You have these hoteliers, right? These small to medium sized hoteliers, and a lot of people don't understand how these guys get screwed. So you have these big B2Cs. I'm not going to give the names. I don't want to get sued. But how they scam these hotels is what they'll do is they'll buy up the whole inventory of hotel rooms, at one of these properties, and then they flip it for double the price. Now
They buy the inventory and flip it.
they flip it for double the price.
That's
So
unbelievable. That sounds like a stockbroker or something. You know what I mean? That's unbelievable.
yeah, like they're supposed to be helping the supplier, right? They're supposed to be telling the supplier, "Hey, here's your price point. Here's your equilibrium." No, what they do is they buy it uh, in the future on a cheap at a cheap rate. Then when the time comes, they sell it for double. So you know, we help the hotels because we're not in that business. We're we sell by volume, and we provide business insights to suppliers so that they know where they should be in regards to equilibrium and pricing, and we give them business insights to help them.
Okay, so you give them business insights to be able to help them make better decisions, and at the
Yep.
same time, you're not buying the inventory of these hotels. you're helping them to make the better decisions so they can make the money.
Correct, correct. And we also have a couple of tricks too to help them so that we fight off some of these scalpers, right? Online scalping is pretty prevalent, so we do have some really cool techniques to kind of fend off these predatory scalpers. So that's a very good example of these suppliers that really like us. Um, another group that really loves us is tour operators, because you get these really cool tour operators in these for example, here in the Philippines, right? You've got some of these really amazing tours where you can like swim with whales, and you get to go
Oh,
into
that sounds
these.
cool. As long as they're not killer whales.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's an island here in the Philippines that's famous for that, and
And you can
normally,
swim with the whales. You can actually go out and swim with them, Solito. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and they're really friendly with humans. Yeah, they've never attacked anyone, and you could walk up to them, touch
Wait a
them.
minute. What kind of whales are they?
They're I forgot. They're That's a good question, but
Are they big
it
whales or small whales or how
they're
big
like
are they?
they're like medium sized whales. They're definitely
That's
much
still
bigger than
big.
a
That's
human.
probably 40 feet or 50 feet.
Oh, easily, easily. I mean, Survivor filmed in the Philippines, so if you go some of these old episodes, they have all these clips of them, swim with them. But those tour operators, right? Traditionally, the only way you would have known that that even exists is if you happen to be in that near that island, and you either heard about it, someone talked about it, or maybe you might have seen a brochure in the hotel room.
Hmm.
So for someone like that, right, these mom and pops and these really amazing tours, we give them a global audience automatically, right? So they
Well,
don't
that's
have to rely
so
on
you can
traffic.
take these unique experiences. You're finding experiences hyper personalized for somebody based on who they are and the kind of things they like that are extraordinary that other people would never find.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, based on your personality, I don't know, maybe you're one of these people who like to do walking tours, right? So we've got a ton of those. If you're someone who likes stuff that's a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit riskier, yeah, we've got these crazy excursions that you can do, right? You can swim with whales, you can jump off cliffs, you can go spelunking. I know in Vegas, there's this really cool one where you can rent all these exotic cars, Ferraris and Lambos, and you can race them around the track. And, you know, you can either rent it by the car, per the hour, so you don't have to, you can experience that dream car that you always wanted, and you can do it full out, and then they give you lessons about how to race. So there's a lot of stuff like that that we have in our system that would be very difficult to just find on the web. But the one advantage that we have, I mean, we have the capability of a search engine, but you can just book it, right? You might be able to find it online, but our system helps you book it, put everything in one place. And we have all of the sequential services that go with that, right? So if you book your tour, you're also probably going to book your flight. If you book your flight, you're going to probably want to book your hotel. If you book your hotel, you probably want transportation from the airport, right, to your room. You may even want car rental. So we have all that, right? Then when you're finally out there, you might want to book some dining reservations. So we've got a lot of the most high-end restaurants in our system. So we help the traveler through every step of the way when building out these trips. It's very convenient for them.
It seems like, Solito, this would be interesting for governments. I mean, they could bring tours to their countries. I mean, is that an opportunity for you to partner with the government?
It's funny that you mentioned that. We did so much work with all these tourism categories. One thing that we learned right away in the very beginning is that, hey, once we've already got to like this third category, we have to be able to build the system agnostically. We have to build the architecture so that we can easily just stack on any type of product or service in the future. So we learned that early on. So that's how we design it. We call it this agnostic approach, right? We can tack on any type of category, product, or service. So obviously, once we started selling this to a lot of these governments, the next thing they would ask is, hey, this would be perfect for some of these things that we do internally in our government, right? We have all
Hmm.
these taxes and all these little fees and all these little products. And we're like, absolutely, just tell us what you need, and we can repurpose something that we've got already for a previous category and utilize it. So that's what we've done. Matter of fact, it's funny that you mentioned this, Gary. We're actually doing a project right now with one of the major islands here in the Philippines. It's very famous, and they want to be able to digitize everything because they want to be able to account for every penny that a tourist has spent, and they want to be able to make better decisions. So they said, can your system help us track, where the tourists are going, what they're buying? We want to know what they're buying and what they really like. I said, absolutely. You know, the same process that we use for building out the
Mhm.
traveling and tourism stuff, man, applies tremendously to government services. So once we kind of figured that out, it was like, all right,
Well,
we
they
can
must
put in.
like that because you're really for the individual, you're really tailoring it for them. It's custom for them, and they feel closer to their government because they feel that they're getting the kind of service they want. I mean, that's the problem. It's right finding out again. It's that infobesity problem with the data, finding out the right thing for you. But if it cares about you, like I say, like your grandmother that loves you and shows you the services or goods or directions that you need to take. I mean, how much is that worth? It's worth everything.
Absolutely. And it's not just for like tourism, helping governments. People forget there is a very altruistic side to this too. I mean, just imagine a natural disaster, right? Our system, because all of the merchants are on it, all the vendors are on it, all of these government services are on it, health, you can redistribute resources when there's a disaster, right? So if you need to be able to notify medical services to go to a certain area, if you need to be able to distribute um, medical supplies and things to a certain area, you can do it very quickly because all of that stuff, all those service providers and care providers are in our system. So, it's not just a commercial thing, right? It really helps people. And in a country like the Philippines, it's really tremendous because they have a lot of natural things that they have to deal with here, right? You have these massive hurricanes, tsunamis,
Well, how would that work? Tell
earthquakes.
us a little bit about Solito. How would it work? So, give us a use case. How would it work with somebody? Let's just say somebody comes. How much better is their life going to be with Simple Night?
Yeah. So, for example, a tourist comes in, they visit a particular area, and say, for example, they have to go and get checked up because they're not feeling so well.
Hmm.
Well, our system already knows that they're walking to a medical facility. So, boom, the AI is going to kick in and say, oh, wait a minute, let's give this guy a list of all of the appropriate clinics that he can go to. So that person goes to the clinic and let's book him a doctor to see him. Doctor comes in, sees the guy. The doctor says, hey, you're going to need to take this. Okay, well, we can order that whatever medication was prescribed to him in our system. And because we know where he's staying, right, we can deliver those medications to his hotel. And then who knows, maybe he needs someone to follow up. So we could say, hey, do you want us to book a medical professional to come in and follow up, make sure you're okay? And who knows, maybe he wants to go back home right away because
Hmm.
maybe he just realizes, you know what, I'm not feeling real. I need to get home. Okay, we can book all those services. We can inform, whoever is listed as his medical contact. Hey, blah 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 isn't feeling too well. We're going to book him services home. So because we have all of that travel, supply chain all in our system, and we have all these merchant services as well as all these medical services, all those things based on how you react and where you're going can get triggered by AI, and AI is going to be smart enough to anticipate what's the next step in helping that person, right?
That doesn't have to just be on your trip to the Philippines. That can be in your life if you're in the United States every day. I mean, every person could have that applied for everything, right? So if you're walking on the
Absolutely.
street, no matter what it is, hey, it knows that your friend Bill is down the street there, knows you both like sushi. You can book the restaurant for the sushi. You like to play pickleball after it's done. It makes a pickleball reservation for you. Oh, you forgot to buy flowers for your wife. It buys the flowers. I mean, it can do everything, but that's what's going to happen. It has to be that these tools, these engines, these incredible engines, these Simple Night engines are out there that can customize services and goods for you, so you don't have to waste your time. Because most of our time is trying to make a decision on things, right? Isn't it? And then finding it. But what you do is you make it simple.
Absolutely. Here's another cool use case, right? The guy who's trying to book his next trip, but he's not. He just wants some new. He wants some new ideas, right? So our system can book the trip, but also book each item in terms of all the different choices that he has. And maybe he's the most pickiest person in the world. So he says, "Hey, I want to go to this restaurant. But if I can't get this restaurant, here's my second and third choice." But every time that choice changes, well, all his other options have to change with it, right? So you have all these conditional changes. Well, if I can't get into Carbone, but maybe I can get into, I don't know, Tao. Well, Tao's a little bit further, so I'm going to go to this nightclub instead. And if I'm going to go to that nightclub, well, then I'm going to need a different route change in my transportation. And if I'm going to need a different route change in my transportation, well, maybe I just get a limo instead, right? So there's a lot of changes, subsequent changes that happen with every one of these variables, right? That get reprioritized and changed. So, we've got a crazy system that helps people like that who are just, OCD and, they're very picky and, they have a lot of these conditions. Yeah, the AI and the hyper personalization that we were talking about at the beginning really helps with those particular types of users.
So, what's the future? Tell us what Simple Night. Where do you see Simple Night in another 2 or 3 years? Where are you going to be?
One of the big focuses that we're having is going to be government services. I think because we have the tourism background, we can offer some revenue streams, but then you tie that in with the government services. It's just an amazing killer app. So we service two big extremes, right, of governments. You've got in the West who've been on top of technology for a long time, but they might be fragmented, right, because each one of these technologies grew in different areas at different times. But it got to the point where it's like so defragmented that it's actually chaotic. So we can come in and say, hey, we'll be that central hub for you guys so that we can fix and defragment, right, those problems and give you one single cohesive system. Now all your data is all in one place. All the communication is all in one place. Your business insight now goes through the roof. And then you lay the artificial intelligence on top. Boom. It's like on steroids. And for the other polar opposite, right, for these countries that don't have the skill set to kind of and didn't start at the same time as the West, well, we give them the biggest shortcut in the world. We just say, here, just get on our platform and you're going to be on par, maybe even ahead of a lot of these well-developed countries, because you're having the added benefit of bringing it in now. You don't have to worry about dealing with obsolete systems. You don't have to worry about, how do I deal with all this old stuff? No, we're going to put you right in to the most modern stuff right here, right now. And, you've caught up with the world. So, with those two extremes, we're going to be, closing a lot of deals with a lot of different countries.
That's great. So, Solito, we're coming to the top of the show. How do people reach you? What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, they can reach me at the Solito at Simplenight.com. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, I love giving demonstrations and talking about AI. I mean, we just came back from New York and we did a massive demo with one of the biggest investment banks in the world. So, we're pretty hyped up about where we're going, the direction that we're going, and we've got something for everyone. Because we're using AI, we deal a lot with data. We solve problems, right? And we're solving some of the most common problems, but for a lot of companies, because of the constraints that they have and the way that they operate, they can't move so freely. So they love using us because that's all we do is come up with new features and functionality, and there's always something that they can utilize, right, in our massive suite of solutions.
And it's getting better all the time.
Solito, every day.
Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us today. And thanks to all of you joining one more time. Simple Night Presents. I'm your host, Gary Fowler. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back to you next week with another exciting edition. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.